string it through the bottom.
Oh, through the bottom?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
And if you can clip it to your collar on the suit. And hide the wires for me, please.
Mm-hmm.
Mic check, 109876. We're good. Tell me your name, please.
My name is John Allen Rubio. I'm from Brownsville, Texas.
Why are you here at the Polensky unit?
Well, I'm here because something crazy happened before I got arrested. I know that it's very hard to believe that what I've been saying is true, but it is true. I know what I saw. I know what I heard. And the people that I have told, a lot of people have said that I'm lying. I know God knows the truth of what happened.
Earlier in the evening, as an officer was patrolling by the neighborhood, he got waved down by a couple that had come by and visited another couple that lived here at one of the apartments, and they discovered that there were 3 dead children in the apartment.
What do you remember from that night?
I was waved down by a male who was a family member to Mr. Rubio. He just simply said that the kids have no heads. And that's all he told me. And at first I didn't believe what he was telling me, but it's that look on his eyes, that blank stare. I knew that something had happened. I went ahead and asked him, well, jump in the back seat and take me where this is at. He pointed at a door and said, it's this one. And I radioed dispatch.
And I hear a patrol officer come in on the radio.
I may have something here. They're reporting a child without a head.
We come in and I park across the street. The building used to be here with all the different apartments. I see the officer, Sonny Cervantes. He's talking to John Allen Rubio and Angela Camacho, his Kamala wife.
He gestures to come on in, and he sits down next to his wife or girlfriend and just kind of points and says, the kids, that is it.
We walked into the building. The whole place was in disarray, completely filthy, just dirty. Sonny Cervantes was ahead of me.
So as I'm entering the hallway, and there was what I thought at split second was a doll without a head. And until I looked closer, I realized.
And he jumps up, he goes, oh my God.
So that's not a doll, that's real.
And he grabs himself, so I grab him. He's just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So I pull him around and I look in the bedroom and I'm seeing what he was reacting to was the body of a little baby who ended up being John, baby John. The baby was on his back, his knees were bent up, like on a baby doll when you bend the knees, that's the way he was. I could see his neck, cut up, jagged, there was no head, but there was no blood on the bed, there was no blood on the body, there was no blood anywhere. So I'm walking down the hallway, I get to the door, and now there's a bunch of people. It's taped off, there's a bunch of officers, and there's a bunch of neighbors, and it's just wild. And I'm not gonna lie, I did not want this to happen. I felt like I had to catch my breath, so I crossed the street, and I did. I just stand right there where I'm looking right now. I was standing there, I was like, hey, okay, get yourself together. There's a bunch of people there, and there's a lady that was yelling at me. They have more kids, they have more kids. So I turn around, and Angela's right there. So I just asked her, do you have more kids? ¿Tienen más hijos? And she just looked at me and said, ¿Tienen más hijos o no? And all she said was, pues ahí están. We have to go back in. You know, initially we didn't want to contaminate the crime scene, but now there's a chance that we could find somebody that we could save. When I walked into the bedroom, on the other side of the bed, there was a pile of clothes, and it was high, like 4 feet high. On the back of the mountain of clothes, there was a gap. So I climb on top of the pile of clothes. I'm climbing, I want to get to that area because in my mind, if there's something, it's probably gonna be right there. And when I get to the edge, there's a brand new black trash bag. I open the bag, and there's a baby girl in there, an older girl who was Julissa. She's 3 years old. She's the size of a 3-year-old. And she's sitting on no head, jagged cut. There's no head there. There's an infant laying on her. The 2 girls are here. They're dead. So now there's nothing for me to do, because now it's a crime scene that needs to be investigated, documented.
That day, I was one of the crime scene investigators. So we need to start setting up perimeter, start setting up what is our next step, what do we actually have. And also they start to address the fact that John Rubio and his wife are on scene. And what are they saying? Do they say anything? They were stone cold in the sense that they weren't providing any information. It's not like something that they were actively trying to hide or crying or emotional about. It was like a normal day for them in a sense of their reactions. Everything that was happening was odd. Now comes the other task of, let's bring them in, let's separate them, let's find out what's happening.
What did you start hearing? What did you start seeing?
I initiated the interview of John Rubio after he had been made aware of his Miranda rights. We were told that he immediately said, you know, here I am, you know, arrest me.
You know what? I did it.
That he had killed the baby.
In a sign motion? You know, like.
He is giving a story, what I'm going to call a story that he wants to tell.
She was acting like somebody she isn't, see?
The babies were possessed, and that the reason that he killed them was because they were evil.
She started talking and like demonized.
The other detectives took the initial statement from Angela, which is the mother of the children.
And I actually took Angela's Camacho's statement, but this is the part that I don't understand. At the end of the day, those hours, how she got to this, to say, mijito, estaba bien fuerte, no se dejaba, mijito, lo estaba agarrando y no se dejaba. She was bragging, my son was so strong. That's the one thing that, and I say it just like the way I said it right now, because that's the part that I just don't get it.
Meanwhile, officers are securing the scene, holding on the scene. We have the DPS crime lab that's there, and our crime scene investigators are at the scene.
We start slowly but surely processing the scene. What do we have? In between doing that, we were called back, Manny and I, to come back to the station so we can document and photograph the condition of Rubio and his wife, his eyes. I don't know if it was my mind trying to safeguard myself or what, but they were the darkest eyes I've ever seen. Unemotion, not caring, sort of enjoying the moment of the attention that is being placed upon him. And we're there taking his photographs, we're there doing the fingernail scrapings, we're gonna collect his clothing. Same thing is being done with Angela. Once we finish with them, secure the evidence that we gather from them, that's secured, placed away, and we return. One of the things that everybody remembers is there's a 5-gallon bucket, a white bucket, full of water and apparent Clorox, but it's bloodstained. What it looks to me, it's bloody water. And it comes to my understanding that that's where eventually the babies were washed. We're giving a bath because the babies were clean. And I call them baby because that's what they are. They're babies. They always will be. Once that initial documentation is done, come on back and see what else do we need. Well, we start finding the knives that are scattered throughout the crime scene that apparently were used. Some of them are bloodstained, some of them are broken, and they're just scattered on the floor, on the kitchen, and in the hallway area type of situation. And those become items of evidence. What else do we need to pick up? It was a long week. We take the next task the next day is gonna be the autopsies. And we go and witness the autopsies. Yes, they were stabbed multiple times, all of them. It just senseless. And the stabbings that the 3 bodies received, the Dr. DeWitt, is able to tell that stuck in my mind is some of these stab wounds are while they're alive, as they're dying and once they're dead. So it took time for all that to be done. I'm not saying hours, but I'm saying a span of time. It's not just one stab, but it was multiple. I understand now with, John facing the death penalty and a date has been set that has rekindled a lot of interest. I hope it does come to be. Not necessarily for our selfish needs as far as putting a closure, quote unquote, to it, but he needs to be punished. And that's what the jury decided. And under the law, in our imperfect system, it has to be done, and it's time for it to be done.
The Brownsville father set to be executed in November. John Allen Rubio was convicted in the brutal murders of his 3 children back in 2003. The children, just babies, 3, 1, and 2 months old.
We find out through our investigation and follow-up interviews of John and Angela that all their government assistance had been canceled. We believe that is the motive. When anybody brings up the John Allen Rubio case, everybody right away wants to go to the witchcraft and the demons and all that. That's what people talk about. It's just a coincidence that the rent was due and all the government payments were coming to an end. It's a coincidence that all that happened and then all of a sudden witches appeared. You know why he told us he nailed the back door? To keep the demons out. But what I want everybody to know is it had nothing to do with demons. The only evil person there was John.
John, why did you agree to talk to me?
Since this all happened, I'd always wanted to get my side of the story out there. Nobody ever wanted to listen to me, right? Everybody was seeing me as a monster that I'm not. If you listen to the people that actually knew me, they would say that this is totally out of character for me. I was more of the protector of the family. I adored my children. I would never hurt them. So all the accusations of the prosecutors that I did this because of whatever reason, it makes no sense. Nothing makes sense. The only thing that makes sense is that something totally out of the ordinary happened, something crazy, for me to act in a way that I would never act otherwise.
Can you tell us about what happened that morning and that day leading up to the death of your 3 children?
Well, for days we had been seeing a lot of weird stuff happening. We're going to the bus station. Angela sees this woman and she asked me, "What's that, mijo?" And I look and I see a woman with a burn on her forehead. And I told her not to look at it because, like I said, I had read a little bit about the Bible and I thought it was the mark of the beast. I understand how crazy this all sounds, but that's what happened. I had been cleaning the apartment for a few days and I found two candles, like a scented candle, and it had like a little mountain of salt and razors in it. And when I saw that, I got really terrified, and I knew it was witchcraft, right? That somebody's doing witchcraft towards me, against me and my kids. And Julissa was acting weird, right? She was saying that she was my grandmother. And at that moment...
This is around what time, John? In the afternoon?
No, it was at nighttime.
Okay, at night when
yeah,
you start...
all of this happened at night. So between 9 and... let's say 3 in the morning, all of this happened, right? So, Julissa was acting weird. And I remembered that I had had dreams like this before where she was being possessed by my grandmother. And she was gonna teach me these abilities to defend myself against what was gonna come. So when I go into the room, I see that Julissa has Johnny's hand in her hand, and they have the scissors and they're about to put it into the light socket. So they were going to electrocute themselves. And I told Julissa, "Julissa, what are you doing?" And she threw the scissors to the bed and she turned around and acted like nothing was wrong. Like, "What? I'm not doing anything." And that's when I grabbed onto her shoulder and said, "Get out of my daughter, get out of my daughter." And she was screaming, "No, no." And she was screaming in a weird voice. and she was not herself. Then I called Angela, and Angela came, and Angela said that what's going on, and I explained what was going on. All three of them were acting weird, right? And the one that was acting the most weird was Julissa. After that, that's when Angela brought me some knives, and I did what I did, right? I wanted to think that it was just a demon that I was attacking. Angela and we thought that it was the end of the world. It was like the apocalypse, or like, I mean, it was just the end, right? That's what we thought. That's why we were saying goodbye. We made love, and we said goodbye to each other. After that, we fell asleep. And when we woke up because my brother was knocking on the door. I opened the door to let my brother in, and my brother went straight to the room where my kids were, and he asked me what happened. So I told him that it was witchcraft, that it was all crazy, and that's what happened.
Now, after more than 2 years in prison, Angela Camacho breaks her silence, and News Channel 5 cameras are rolling.
And then he started saying that they were possessed, and I believe him.
Have you spoken to Angela?
I have not spoken to her, but I was writing to her, tell her that she knows what happened. She saw what I saw, and she knows that the truth is crazy, right? Even though that we did something wrong, it's still that, I mean, we didn't do it with the evil intention, right?
Are you sorry? Yes,
For what?
for letting him be whatever he did and not defending my own babies.
Angela confessed to police, saying she and John Allen had killed the kids because they didn't have enough money to raise them.
It's not easy.
No.
Angela Camacho can't hold back her tears. The weight of what she's done is too heavy.
I don't know what was really going on with her, but my heart ached for her. I still loved her because and I still love her now because she's the mother of my children.
Explain to us what occurred then. He took him where?
He took it away from me and took him to the kitchen where the seat was, by the restroom. And he started saying that he was possessed and started killing him with a little knife.
It hurts that she turned on me and said some lies on the stand, right?
Rubio has spent the past 23 years fighting his death sentence.
Court documents show why the execution date was set later this year.
I think John Allen Rubio is evil. I think John Allen Rubio is the devil here on earth, and I think he's a big coward, and I want to tell him this to his face. In my career, this is the worst case that Cameron County, that Brownsville has seen, and I hope to God that they don't see another one worse. It's what the public is still, having a hard time understanding. How could this happen? Why did this happen? And most of all, why is that person still alive?
Do you recall where you and John were sitting at the time, and can you point us in that direction?
Sure. The very last chairs over there, it would have been myself, then it would have been John, and then it would have been Al Padilla. I was contacted by Judge Orestes' court, informed that I had been appointed to represent John Allen. We were fairly confident, based on the nature of the offense and the little bit of the police reports that we heard about, that our client's competency to stand trial and sanity were going to certainly be in question.
So what was your main defense in this case?
Our only defense. I mean, it was never a question of who done it. Well, we knew who did it. It was the why. We had John examined, and we had a doctor, Valverde, give us a report that he found him not to be competent and to have been insane at the time of the offense. He believed that it started with Julissa, that Julissa was possessed, and that she was acting possessed, and that she had to be killed to kill the demon, so that that humanity, the world, would be safe.
Oh, I think that's just part of his story. I think just part of his cowardness coming through. He's got to have a reason to try and explain what happened. But the fact of the matter is that there's no reason.
Our defensive theory was that, based on his upbringing and his belief, that John believed that he grew up in a family where his grandmother was a supposedly very well-known and powerful curandera, and he was led to believe that he had these curandera powers also, And Grandma would constantly tell him that he was the chosen one. He didn't have a very good foundation as far as family support to tell him, look, you know, this isn't correct. I mean, I think a lot of times it was easier just to let him believe. I mean, he presented like a young kid. I mean, like a young kid and very immature, very naive, very inexperienced. I mean, he had it rough. I don't think he knew who his dad was. His mom was, by her own testimony, was drinking about a 6-pack of beer almost a day when she was pregnant with him. So that certainly had to have contributed to some of his conditions.
What do you think about prosecutors saying they didn't have enough money to take care of their children, and that's what led to their deaths?
When we were preparing for the second trial, our investigator we had at the time, he and I drove up to the women's prison, which was just outside of Waco, to go meet with Angela. And we recorded our interview with her. And I asked her, I said, you know, Angela, you gave 3 statements. And essentially, in summary, your first statement was, we killed the children because they were possessed. And then your second statement, you said, well, we really couldn't afford to feed the kids. We didn't have any money, and so that's why we killed them. And then you gave a third statement where you said, well, we didn't have any money. We couldn't afford to take care of the kids. That's why we killed them, but they were possessed. So I said, why did you give 3 different statements? And what she says is that the investigators take her first statement, and then they come back in later and they say, look, we just talked to John, and John told us that the reason why you all committed these murders was because you all were poor and couldn't afford them. And she's like, John said that? Yes. Well, then, okay, then that's why. So she only changed her story because law enforcement fed her this line, and she went with it because she was being told that that's what John was saying.
What Angela did was equally evil and equally bad, but not the defender, but she was manipulated by Rubio, the architect of this whole case. She has expressed remorse. She's accepted responsibility. She's been held accountable, and she's paying for her time.
The family was at a point where, I mean, they were sleeping out here at Washington Park. They took the kids away, and so I believe they placed the children there. I mean, under CPS, but with some family in Los Fresnos. John, went to work to get his kids back, so he started hustling, washing cars and doing odd jobs and trying to raise enough money to get this apartment. When they, I guess, felt they were there, they called CPS. CPS came over and looked at this place and said, okay, and let them have the kids back.
Your thought behind that is they should have never gotten their kids back.
No, they should never return the kids. I mean, when they took the kids, they could see that neither Angela or John really were capable. They couldn't take care of themselves. When, we got found guilty and we were standing there waiting for the verdict, there was no one there for John, not his mom, not his brothers, nobody. He was alone. And then when we had to stand up to hear the verdict, again, he was alone. I mean, I saw him just as a lost, troubled, stupid kid, and just in part because he was allowed to believe it, in part because he believed it, got himself into a mindset where what he thought he was doing was right.
And come November, there's still possibility they could come up with other reasons to delay the execution.
There's a possibility, and I strongly believe that they will. Yes. The frustration continues. The delay tactics by the defendant continues. I, as an attorney, understand that that's part of the system, and whether I like it or not, I have to deal with it. But this is the part that the public doesn't understand. This case has been tried twice. He has twice been convicted of death. He has twice been up to the Supreme Court. I share the public sentiment. It says, when is enough enough? I mean, when is the defendant had enough rights, and when is justice going to be served for the 3 babies?
In this society, I mean, John never had a chance. There's this stupid belief about an eye for an eye. I don't know how we're supposed to be an advanced, modern, intelligent, civilized society when we believe that the only way to get justice for a homicide is to commit another homicide.
When the time comes, be it November or whenever it does come, I hope that God gives me the opportunity that I want to be there. I want to be there as the eyes of the community and as the conscience of the community to see that justice has been finally brought forth of these children, because I want to come back to the community and tell them that it's done.
No messages are going to be sent. You know, people say, well, when you kill him, it sends a message. No, I mean, John was found guilty. He was sentenced to death. The whole world that was listening heard it. And since then, so many other horrible crimes involving children have occurred. I think you let John spend the rest of his life in prison without parole, with no expectation of ever breathing free air again. How is that not punishment?
My team and myself will keep fighting for justice until the day that John Allen Rubio takes his last breath.
Now that I have an execution date, I'm ready to be with my children. I'm ready to be with my children. I'm ready to be with God. I know they know the truth. I adore my children, and I'm ready to be with them, being able to hug them again in heaven, because I believe in heaven. I believe in hell, and I want to be with them. I know that I'm saved because I've read the Bible. I know what it says, and I accepted Jesus as my Savior, right? That's the only way that I feel that I am eligible to go to heaven, not by anything that I've done. The Bible says that no matter what I have done, it can all be forgiven if I come with remorse and repentance, right? Change of how I used to see things. And that's how I feel. I no longer see things the way I used to. I see them through the eyes of God. And that's why I'm not afraid to be killed. However, if God can spare me this, that would be great.
Nearly 15 years after 3 children were killed in their Brownsville home, the downtown building where the murders happened is gone.
This home was demolished and a park was created in honor of the 3 children.
Even though it's a park now, it still bears that horrific scene, that murder that took place there.
Probably got home about maybe 1, 2 in the morning. The first thing I had to do was just go over and hug my 2 little girls. You know, and I actually stayed with them for a while. And that was just kind of going back in my head of, you know, what did I just see? What happened? It deeply affected me and everyone who responded. I'm sure it affected them as well.
But a few days later, a week later, I don't know how much longer, I was reading the morning newspaper, and I learned that there was going to be the funeral service for these kids, you know, and I tell myself, I need to go over there because I don't want this to be my last memory. I don't know if it's going to be next week, next year, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. I need to see these kids. And I did. And, you know, people always talk about their kids. Oh, my son's so beautiful, my daughter's so beautiful. But these kids were really beautiful. I swear, they look good.
Like I said, I've never stopped here until today.
Why do you think that? Why have you not been back?
Something tragic here happened and I didn't want to ever come back here.
What do you think when you see that?
They're not here. I like it, it's pretty and everything, and I don't want to be mean or sound ugly, but they don't get to enjoy this. It's almost like for their misery, this all happened. That building should have been torn down a long time before that happened. I know they're in a better place, that's for sure. That's for sure.